I don't think there's any doubt that the Irish know their potatoes. Despite being half Irish, I doubted this recipe. It sounded so odd. But the recipe for Colcannon is delicious, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. Today we're going to make Colcannon. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you haven't, and let me just tell you a little bit about why I even am making it, because it's kind of a funny story. I have heard of Colcannon, and I'm half Irish, okay, half Irish, half German. I've heard of Colcannon. I always said, nope, not doing it. Sounds too weird for me, and I had never had it before for some reason. So I asked my Facebook audience what they wanted me to make for St. Patrick's Day, and a lot of them said Colcannon. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, what should I make for St. Patrick's Day? I'm really like, I don't know what to make. She's like, make Colcannon. I'm like, what is with this Colcannon? And she says, oh, your grandmother used to make it. It's absolutely delicious. And she proceeded to tell me how my grandmother made it. But my grandmother, despite being born in Ireland, did not make it traditional. So I decided that I would make it a traditional way, but use the Ninja Foodi pressure cooker to make it a little bit easier. So what we have here is 1.5 pounds of washed russet potatoes. You do not want to peel them, and you want them to be about the same size so that they cook at the same time. So if you have a really big potato and a really small potato, they're going to cook differently, and you're not going to have consistent results. So try to pick 1.5 pounds of potatoes. They can be any size, they can be bigger, but if they are bigger, increase your pressure cook time. 4 equal sized potatoes or 1.5 pounds will work fine in this recipe. I'm overthinking it. You don't have to. All right. Basket in, or you could use the rack. It's fine. We're going to put in 2 cups of water. This is plain tap water, which is just cold from the tap. We're going to throw in the potatoes right into the basket. Put the pressure lid on, turn the valve to seal. We want to go under high pressure for 30 minutes. So if you have really large russets, I would take that up to 40 minutes. The idea is these potatoes need to be completely cooked, and I'm hoping that they crack a little bit because that's going to make it a whole lot easier for us to go and mash them. We are going to take the skin off, so no worries. You don't need to peel them. Don't peel them before you put them in, please. Follow this recipe. You're going to be amazed. It's so easy, simple. And then we're going to add in some more traditional ingredients that go into Colcannon, and I bet you might be a little bit surprised. All right, so we're almost finished with our 30-minute pressure cook time, and I just wanted to go over the other ingredients that I'm gonna add to make this delicious Colcannon dish. I have some green cabbage, a leek, and a green onion. Now, you can use a variety of these. You can use all of them. You could use some of them. You can omit what you want. You can even add in kale or something else like that. But usually there's a little bit of cabbage and either green onion or leek, but I happen to like both of them together, so I'm using both of them. You only need a little bit, so I have probably about maybe a cup of cabbage that is really finely sliced, and then I have another cup of leek. With the leek, when this is what a whole leek looks like, with the leek I used some of the green end up here and also some of the white end. So the white ends come off in little, I'll just show you here. Take this one out. So the white ends, when you slice them thin, they're these beautiful onion rounds, and I don't even do anything with them. I just put them right in. We're going to steam those for a few minutes. The darker side are just going to give you a little bit darker, and they're a little bit firmer. So you have a texture difference in your mashed potatoes. Let me tell you, it's absolutely delicious. One thing I will say, though, is when you cut off the green ends, there can be some dirt underneath here like that. So make sure that you wash them really well, okay? So I'm not going to use those because I'm not going to take the time to wash them right now. But these are all washed up and ready to go. And then the green onion, I just slice up into small rounds, and I don't add those in right now. So we're going to set those over here. And we should be just about done, ready to release the pressure. That's gonna take a minute or so, and then I'm gonna get the potatoes out and we'll talk about the butter and cream because, oh yes, these are not low calorie, but they are delicious. Okay, take the potatoes out, dump in the vegetables. So there's a total of 2 cups in there. They will definitely shrink down. We can use the same water, so this is super easy to do. Put the lid back on. Now you might notice that it won't go back on too easily. That's because there's still some steam in there, so I'm going against the steam. And so you just might have to wait for a minute or so. And I'm lifting up the pot each time. You can see that too. All right. There we go. Now we can go on to the steam function. We want to just take that to about 3 minutes. Some people actually saute this like in bacon grease, or you could, fry up some bacon too. You could add that to your Colcannon. That's perfectly fine, but I'm just going to keep it vegetable based here. And make sure your vent is your valve is on vent because we're steaming. We don't want to go under pressure. All right. Now, the potatoes. You want to wait for them to cool down just a little bit, but I don't do a whole lot of touching them, so they don't have to cool down a lot. What I like to see is that they split a little bit, and they all seem to have, except for this guy, made a little split. So that makes it really easy to peel. Now, if you didn't want to make the Colcannon, but you wanted to make delicious mashed potatoes, this is a great way to do it. I worked on a mashed potato recipe for a long time, and it never occurred to me to do the russets in the jacket, like in the skin. But let me tell you, it prevents the inside from getting really wet. So, you want a dry potato for a nice fluffy mashed potato. Keeping the skins on and pressure cooking them this way does just that. So this worked perfectly in the Colcannon, and it would work perfectly for all your mashed potato recipes if you want a nice light and fluffy potato. All right, so now I'm just gonna get the skin off of them. And the way that I do that, now if you let them cool a little bit more, you could certainly do it with your hands. But because they're pretty hot, I take a fork and a spoon, and I just hold it with the fork and move the spoon along here and just slide the skin right off. I try to keep the potato as whole as possible just because I don't want it to cool down before we start to mash it and add in our steamed vegetables. If there's any dark spots, like this one had just a little dark spot, I just get it off with my spoon. Honestly, as somebody who hates peeling potatoes, this is easier. I think I'm gonna start making all my mashed potatoes this way. Super easy. All right, there we go. Into the bowl. All right, so we're still steaming. We only have about 30 seconds to go. It's a little noisy, so I'm gonna wait for it to finish. The pin is up, but don't worry about that. That sometimes happens. But the valve is to the vent, so we're getting the steam coming out. As soon as the time is up, I'm going to turn the Ninja Foodi off, and I'll be able to release the lid or open the lid within a few seconds, really, 15, 30 seconds. That pin will drop in the back. Then we'll get finished making our mashed potatoes. All right, so it's quieting down some now, and I should be able to open this lid in no time at all. So let me talk about the cream and the butter. I am using an Irish butter, which is a higher fat content. You can find it in most U.S. grocery stores. I mean, Kerrygold is a common brand name, absolutely delicious. So like I said, it has a little more fat. It's really good. Use it in the Colcannon, okay? I have 4 ounces of that, but I took out about a tablespoon because I like to put that on top. And 4 ounces is equal to 1 stick of the butter, the way it comes for us, or a half of a cup. And I have a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, and I warm them in the microwave for about 30 seconds to make sure that it was warm, and then let the butter continue to melt. So what I do now is put on the salt and some of the half of this liquid. So I use 1 teaspoon of salt in this recipe. You can start off with a half of a teaspoon. You can omit the salt, whatever you like. I make these pretty indulgent, and I think salt's important. gonna go ahead and remove that immediately because I don't want them to keep steaming. All right, so now we're gonna add in about half of our mixture here, mostly the butter, because the butter is the most important part. And then these potatoes are so soft that you can use a hand masher. Yes, you can use a beater too, but I just go through them with a hand masher. Oh, I can't wait to try these. I was so shocked, so shocked. I mean, cabbage and potatoes, I was like, wow, no way. It is so good. Now, each time I've made these, it has required the entire amount, but I usually always add it in half and then maybe a quarter and then another half because you don't want to over liquefy your potatoes, but I've always found that it uses that amount. And then just keep whipping and pushing this through. You can do it as much as you want. You could use a potato ricer. That would have worked fine too. Or a hand mixer will be fine. I like little chunks in my potatoes, and I found that that texture was really nice in the Colcannon. So I don't go too smooth, but you could keep doing this and go really smooth. All right, so now we throw in our steamed cabbage and leeks, and they retained a beautiful color. That's why I decided to steam them a little bit. I didn't think I would like them added in raw or anything. And I didn't want to saute them because I didn't want to get them too done. So I thought steaming was good. It worked out great. Made it super easy because, you know, you just throw them in the basket and use the same water as the potatoes. All right, there we go. Now we just mix this in. I should probably use something else, but it's okay. This will work fine. Look at that. This is a great side dish for St. Patrick's Day, but let me tell you, once you try it, you're gonna wanna make it all the time. It is so good. All right, and then in go the raw green onions. And that's it. Your Colcannon is done. And it's delicious. Let me grab a spoon and a little bowl and I'm gonna give it a taste for you. All right, so when you put this into a serving dish, just make a little indentation. This tool's not working too well. And put that extra pad of butter right on top. And then your serving spoon would go in. The butter will slowly melt and oh, it's so delicious. All right, but I'm not gonna wait for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this with the cabbage and the green onions. And I'm gonna get my own little bit of butter here. Just a tiny bit there. All right. Oh gosh, this is so exciting. Who would have thought cabbage and leeks and green onions in mashed potatoes would be so delicious? It really is. And the textures are perfect. Mm. This is unreal. I mean unreal. Mm. I'm in heaven. These are the best mashed potatoes ever. I'm gonna make them this way. Even if I don't add in vegetables, I'm gonna make them this way from now on. And you do need to use russets. I wanna be real clear on that. You need what they call a floury potato, which I would call a nice starchy potato. So definitely use russets. Make these, try them out. You're gonna love them. Even if you just add the vegetables into half, just to try it out. As always, make it yours, make it delicious, and keep it real.